let's go ahead and get into this. So, if you wasn't aware, the Sean Grayson trial is going on or has been going on. If you're not familiar with who Sean Grayson is, then you should be familiar with the woman, Sonya Massey, the woman that was unalive in her own house when she was just looking for assistance, when she was looking for help because she heard some noises outside of her house, and she called the police looking for assistance. They looked around the house, they came and talked to her. They went inside, and that's what things got. The most worst case scenario ever happened, where a woman who was scared by a 6 foot plus muscular steroid built police officer with a short temper came into the home, antagonizing her, insulting her. In my opinion, keep in mind my opinion, and then she, she rebukes him in the name of Jesus because of how he was, because of his mannerisms. And what ends up happening is supposedly he sees a boiling pot of water and thinks that he is in threat or some type of harm and unalives her. And then he discourages the other officer for even trying to give her aid, and that's what police officers are supposed to do. Now, this man, this animal, this thug, Sean Grayson, has been moved from at least five different, if I remember correctly, police officers, precincts, stations, whatever you want to call them, since 2020, since 2020. He has not been able to maintain a job. And on a previous video I made, I had audio of him being fired before and being chastised for his behavior. He has a history of not being a professional and not a servant of the people. He thinks that badge gives him some of the authority he really doesn't have. And look, I understand being a police officer is a very stressful job, but if you do not have the temperament to handle that stress, if you don't have the emotional maturity, if you don't have the discipline and the self-reflection of yourself to know that you are able to do this job in the best ways possible, whether you're doing having a good day or a bad day, you shouldn't be a police officer. That alone should keep this man from ever having a badge. He should have never been given the privilege from being fired or resigning from one place and going to the other, especially when each instances was related to his conduct and complaints on him. But I said originally, and whenever I made this video, this is around the time my original video about this topic before the trial happened last year. I said that I don't think he's really going to get held accountable as much as he should be, because if Donald Trump gets elected at that time, I was pretty sure he was going to get elected, that he would get a scapegoat. He'll be able to escape accountability and justice. And this is why right here. Let's play this right quick.
Doing their job. We're going to give our police their power back, and we're going to give them immunity from prosecution. So they're not prosecuted for doing their job.
Now, if you see how things been going right now in the United States and the power that's been given to ICE and things of that nature, this man being a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, muscular white man with Valhalla inspired tattoos, I'm going to say it that way. I think you know what I mean when I say that. I can see him getting a reduced sentence, or if he does get sentenced, get pardoned, depending on the mood of the day of the particular leader in office right now. But neither here or there right now. I don't think enough people are talking about this. It's kind of been swept on the rug. When an incident happened, everybody was outraged and upset, and a few people that were taking the police officer's side were, I try not to use too many insults like coons and things like that, or jackasses, dumbasses, etc., etc. But sometimes you just gotta use the words for what they really are. They just weren't good people. How are you gonna see a woman that called for help, that was not violent, and that was intimidated, and as soon as she said, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus," it triggered something inside of him to make him react like a demon. He was on demon time with that woman who was looking for assistance. And that's why so many black people have so many issues with police, or always get nervous when we pull over, because we never know what kind of police officer we're going to get. Because you got to think about the police officers are always designed to police us. But, whenever black people would say this for the longest time, it fell on deaf ears. It made it seem like we had a victim complex and all this other kind of stuff. But then you see stuff going on today, and now people want to start listening. But there was a TikToker. Her TikTok name is I Am Not a Lawyer, but did a full breakdown on this. I was originally trying to find some video from the trial itself, but there isn't one. It's not being live streamed or recorded as of right now, as far as I know. And I can imagine why. Because you got to think about it, that people, they may not outright support him, they will in secret. And, they can dox the jury or try to do witness intimidation and all this other kind of stuff. And that's things we don't need if we're going to get a fair and just trial. In fact, I believe it was even moved to a different town or city from when the incident originally happened in. But I didn't look at her full video. Let's go ahead and go to her page right quick. Take a look at it and go from there.
Today was day one of Illinois versus Sean Grayson. Sean Grayson is the former sheriff's deputy who took the life of Sonya Massey in July of 2024. And while I'm not able to do full recaps on this case because it is not being streamed, there were a few things that happened today that I want you to know about. Number one is the charges. Sean Grayson is charged with first-degree murder. He was originally charged with first-degree murder, official misconduct, and aggravated battery with a firearm, but those last two charges were dropped, and so that only leaves the first-degree murder charge. And if
you see, I don't want any charges dropped.
you're not a lawyer like me, you may be thinking that first degree requires premeditation. So why would they charge him with that? But here's what I learned. In Illinois, premeditation is not a required element for first-degree murder. Taking someone's life without justification or a legal reason to do so is alone enough to be charged with first-degree murder in Illinois. And so that...
Illinois has a lot of issues there. I'm not going to get to touch too much into that. But I'm of the mindset of, if you have a video from start to finish, from multiple angles and different cameras, and even his own words, why drop anything? I don't care if it's needed or not, just have it there. And the main reason I say that, I go back to the Trayvon Martin trial and how they were trying to get George Zimmerman, if I remember correctly, for a second-degree unaliving. And that didn't go how they thought it was going to. So then they tried to get him on manslaughter. And whenever you start dropping charges before the trial even really gets going, it makes it hard to get other convictions or to make other things stick, especially if it's already been thrown out. So that's why I'm a fan of, like, hey, because of the video evidence and multiple video evidence from multiple body cameras, that nothing needs to be dropped. And that's just my opinion of it. I'm sorry, let me go ahead and back to her.
That's why he's charged with that. And just for context, Sean Grayson's defense is that he was justified in shooting Sonya Massey. During opening statements, his attorney argued Sean Grayson believed he was going to suffer great bodily harm from the boiling pot of water that Sonya had if he did not discharge his firearm. And
that is the weakest defense I ever heard before in my life. They have tasers. They have pepper spray. He could have moved. He's a big, muscular man. I would think if you're that big and muscular and taking that much juice, you'll be able to dodge some water. And she was at a pretty good distance, too. I saw the video multiple times. That wouldn't have done anything.
quick refresher in case you need it. According to the report that Sean Grayson wrote after this incident, he said that Sonya Massey was holding a pot of boiling water, and after he told her to put it down, she told him, quote, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus." Sean Grayson...
I don't remember that personally, but, let's continue. I guess the video evidence doesn't mean anything.
Believed that statement to mean that she was going to kill him, and so, in defense of himself, he says he withdrew his weapon and discharged it. And that...
What's going on here?
That leads me to thing you should know number 2, and that is that Sean Grayson's former partner and the man who was with him on the night of this incident was the third witness of the day. And his testimony, according...
Now, normally when you hear police officer, partner, and testimony, they normally stick together. But in this particular case, that's not what happens.
To tweets from WICS ABC 20 and reporting from WCIA, Deputy Dawson Farley, who was Grayson's former partner, testified that Sonya Massey did say, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus." And when she said it, Deputy Farley was confused by it, but he did not see it as a threat. Farley testified, quote, "She," meaning Sonya Massey, "never did anything that made me think she was a threat. It was..."
Yeah. She was the woman that was scared. She was scared.
Essentially the defendant's actions that raised my sense of awareness. Deputy Farley went on to testify that he did not see or hear anything that made him want to draw his weapon. And the only reason he did draw his weapon was because Sean Grayson drew his. And their officer training tells them that when one officer draws their weapon, their partner should also draw theirs.
I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing to do. If you do see your partner to draw your weapon, you're supposed to do the same thing. But at the exact same time, when you have a man that has a history of being short-tempered, immature, and probably mentally unstable, in my opinion, the last part, I will probably reserve pulling my weapon personally, just for a fact, it's a woman alone in her house. And if I remember correctly, the partner, he was even looking through the house to make sure there was nobody else there. He was just looking around, like looking into the other bedrooms and stuff. So, again, that woman probably weighed 130 pounds at the most. And they were scared of her. Or the large, roid rage, short-tempered, immature police officer was scared of her.
Deputy Farley then testified about what happened after the shooting. Now, if you've been following this case, you know that after the weapon was discharged, Deputy Farley wanted to get a towel to try and apply pressure and try to help Sonya Massey. But
I remember him saying first aid, but that's fine.
Sean Grayson's response to that was that it was a headshot and that there was nothing they could do, basically discouraging Farley from doing anything to help Sonya Massey. And Deputy Farley...
And he was pretty proud. He sounded pretty proud about that shooting too. And let's just call it for what it is. He was like, "Oh yeah, she's gone." I remember that. I was just like, wow, no remorse. They always take us out like cattle.
He testified that that comment was not in line with their policy because officers are supposed to help people. Now, from what I could gather from these tweets and some of these reports, Deputy Farley first wrote his report about this incident on July 9th. Sean Grayson was then indicted for this incident on July 17th. And then a few weeks later, Deputy Farley went back to clarify or make some changes to some of the things he said in his report. And that seemed to be the focus of cross-examination, because according to this tweet, one of the clarifications that Deputy Farley made in his report was Farley saying that the fear he felt and the reason he drew his weapon was because of Grayson's actions and not Sonya Massey's actions.
Wow. I was not expecting that. I'm not expecting that at all. That's very impressive. Let's see here. I got a comment. Well, how... I think you're supposed to put would. How would you... I'm going to add the word would. How would you feel if someone threw a hot pot of boiling water at you? Would you show remorse? Okay. If I was in that situation... Now, again, I watched that video multiple times. I didn't see her grab that pot of water, but let's say she did. And she was in emotion and getting ready to... No, actually, I do. She did grab a pot of water, but like she was trying to pour it out in the sink, and she advised someone, hey, I need to go to the stove for this. Now, let's say, hypothetically, if I was there, and I thought this woman, this small woman, was going to throw the water at me. She doesn't look strong. She doesn't look strong at all, right? So I would think I would be able to move out the way, or instead of putting my hand on my firearm, I will put it on my taser. There have been so many edits of that video to try to justify the police officer action. There have been a lot of fake edits that have been put on supremacist websites. But the original video, and again, there are videos at multiple angles. She did not throw that pot. She was trying to pour it out. So that's what I'm saying here. Like, okay, let's say even if that woman is not strong enough to throw that water in a fast enough way to a 6 foot plus athletic man cannot dodge it. He's a police officer. He should be able to have the reflexes to pay attention enough to know to move out the way and then try to subdue the person. Let's not forget that all these pew-pews has been going on lately. All these pew-pews has been going on lately, right? None of them have been taken out with pew-pew fire. None of them. They have all been subdued. They have all been arrested. But this woman with some water has deserved to be taken out. Is that what you're saying to me? That this woman deserved to be taken out because she has some water, some hot water? Most state has a stand your ground law. Most states does. But for some water? Let me go ahead and continue with this right quick.
So before that, did he say it was based on Sonya Massey's actions? See, this is why it needs to be streamed. All right, last thing I'll tell you about today is that based on some of the...
Look at this man. He looks like he could be a football player. You mean to tell me this man right here cannot dodge some water? At the very most, it probably would have hit his arm and burnt some of those tattoos you don't need to have on there. Let's call it for what it is. He has a history of being a horrible police officer. And let's not forget that he has went to 5 different precincts within a 5-year period, or actually a 4-year period, all because of his own conduct and behavior, or misconduct and behavior. He has a history of being a horrible police officer. In fact, I wish I still had that recording. It's part of one of my hard drives of him being fired for his temperament. I understand that being a police officer is a dangerous, stressful job at times. But I would imagine that people that are supposed to serve and protect and that we're paying their salaries should be a little bit more elite when it comes to behavior and judgment. There are too many other ways that could have went down. He could have just jumped back. Look at him. He works out. There is no reason that man need to pull out his firearm for that. Now, if she would have had a knife in her hand and trying to throw that, cool. I can understand that. If she would have somehow thought he was, I'm getting frustrated. If there was some way that he was getting ready to, or she was getting ready to reach for a firearm, I can understand that too. But come on, man. Some hot water? Some hot boiling water? Look, if this wasn't YouTube, because I got the original video. If this wasn't YouTube, I would play it. It's on one of my old videos. Because they'll go and cut it off. He does not jump back. He does not do anything. And I'm telling you, I have watched that video multiple times. And his own partner, who was there right there, said there was no threat. His own partner said there was no threat. In fact, the only reason he felt intimidated and tense was because of his actions, because of Sean Grayson's actions. That's it. He didn't feel intimidated by Sonya. Oh, man.
The tweets. Sean Grayson is having some pretty questionable...
But I appreciate the interaction. You know, I really do. You know, thank you for commenting and conversating with me. I appreciate it. I just disagree with you heavily on this one. Now, there are plenty of instances where I see where people should have been taken out for firearms. I just don't think a pot of boiling water is one of them. Especially when there was a counter space and he was way back. There's no way she could have flung that water at him and actually hit him. It's just not a possibility. I mean, unless she's a waterbender or something.
Behavior in the courtroom. One tweet says that Sean Grayson yawned several times while the body cam footage was playing for the jurors. He goes on to say that at one point, Sean Grayson stopped watching. All right, that is my very quick recap of the day. This trial is expected to last about 2 weeks. And again, this was only day one. So I'll keep monitoring to see if anything comes out. Otherwise, I guess we'll get the verdict in about 2 weeks.
I don't know if we're going to get the verdict in 2 weeks or not. Hopefully sooner. But let's see. And you see, he looks a lot skinnier because he was on that juice. That's his picture right there. He looks a lot skinnier compared to here because he was on that juice. He's not on that juice anymore. And that juice impacts your behavior. Now, I understand how sometimes you can just view the law and just look at it and be like, okay, technically he's in the right, but his overreaction makes him in the wrong. There is something of excessive force. Does this have any pictures? Let me see what the pictures are. Oh, these are trial drawings. I will get there in a moment. Actually, let me see here. Oh, Nate the lawyer, Sonya Massey. Oh, this guy. Yeah, I'm familiar with him. I've seen a few of his videos. Let's see here. Misconduct 2 or 5 years for taking somebody's life? Nah. Not for a defenseless woman that called for help. You see, I don't want to click on it because I don't know if he's going to show the video on this. Let me see. Man, I swear my internet has been slow today. You see?
Drop the fucking pot!
You see, they cussing and stuff, and I can't. But even in that little snippet right there, he just said, drop the effing pot. You see how far away he is. There's no way that water would have hit him. There's no way that would have hit him. Yeah, I can't play this. Just for the fact that I'm afraid that it's going to show too much. They're already cursing and stuff. And I'm not trying to get my video in my channel striked because YouTube's been very strict lately for some reason. Which I never understood that. We're all adults, you know. I mean, whenever you make a video, it's asking you, is it for anybody under the age of 18? You say no, you would think it's okay to watch and play stuff like this for adults. But, yeah. I mean, this. Okay. Let me just, yeah.
3 times. So when he fires, they could have retreated. They absolutely could have retreated. And I don't think the law requires them to retreat. But her life, to save her life, they should have retreated. But if you look at what's in between them, there's a countertop with all kinds of shit on it. She doesn't pose a threat. She doesn't pose a threat of serious bodily harm or death. And that's what you have to have for lethal force. There's a force continuum that the cops adhere to. It's part of their training. It starts with talking and ends with lethal force. Sometimes you jump right to lethal force just because the situation calls for it. but there's gradations, and she's clearly confused. And here, he's, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. She doesn't say she's going to throw shit on him, and they could have easily backed up. But they don't do that.
So he's pretty much saying everything I said. There was a counter and stuff on it. He could have backed up. I mean, so far he's not disagreeing with anything I said. He's actually saying everything I said.
They don't do that. I'm going to shoot you in the fucking face.
Man, he got to stop cursing. Okay.
What do they call that? Premeditation. Premeditation is, the deliberation and the forethought about killing somebody with intent. And it can happen in an instant. I don't have to plan your death today, to kill you tomorrow and have that whole time to contemplate death.
You know what? Replaying this did make me realize I forgot that he did say he was going to pow her in the effing face. But you wanted me to play this, but so far, he's not saying anything that I disagree with. Was there a different video that he made where he didn't have all the facts?
For it to be premeditated. It can happen in an instant.
Headshot wounded a female.
Yeah, I'm going to stop playing this because it keeps showing on the video footage. I'm not trying to play that on here. But it's just one of those things that, man, it's... Yeah. But let's get another police officer opinion on this, too. Let me get that pulled up right quick.
Hey, guys. How y'all doing? Hey, look. I'm going to come to you this morning with something a little different. Because I was...
I'll probably say true, but how can a court... Can you judge him? He didn't do. That's not how the law works. Well, Nate was going over the actions that he was doing, which is the actions that I said, and what he could have done. Well, let's get this police officer's opinion. I just found this video and stated right quick. I think his name is Officer 8484. I'm assuming that's the year he was born in. Let's see what he has to say right quick.
I was on a call this morning, and there was probably 50 to 100 people there. Well, I started having some folks ask me, what kind of officer I was, what you do, and they brought up Sonya Massey. And, I never really addressed that situation on here, for my viewers or anything. But that Sonya Massey deal was a senseless tragedy. I mean, to unalive someone over some water, I don't care if it's boiling or not, boiling hot water, when you literally have a island bar that's literally dividing you from this person.
And he was backed up from it too. So that's what I was saying. Unless she's a waterbender, there's no way that water would have hit him.
This person wasn't even doing anything. It's almost like when she said, I rebuke you, it's almost like that officer was carrying something not of this world on his shoulders or inside of him. You know what I mean? It's almost like that immediately brought the demons out. That's the only way that I really know how to address it or to try and comprehend it, to process it. You know what I mean? But these officers, some of these officers out here that wear these badges, they literally make these split-second decisions. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know. Maybe some of them are just itching. I don't know, and I don't understand. But
Now, have I came across some over-aggressive cops? Yeah, absolutely, 100% of the time. I also came across some of this very cool and chill police officers, too. She was acting weird, erratic, and mentally unstable. So, I don't know where you get that from. So, I watched... there are multiple videos that came out. I actually watched the video whenever the officer, Grayson, got the call and he drove up to her house and knocked on the door. And he went around back because she thought she because she thought she heard something. They checked around the house, let her know there was nothing there. She voluntarily told him about the medication. He came inside. So it's kind of those things that I don't understand where you get this. She was acting erratic. I just don't see that, man.
It makes it really hard for the ones out here that
But let's say hypothetically that the boiling water is a weapon, which I'm not saying boiling water cannot be dangerous. Boiling water can definitely cause you some third-degree burns depending on where it lands, right? He wanted to go inside the house. He put himself in that situation. He had one job to do, to check the perimeter, make sure there was nobody there because she thought she heard somebody outside, right? But he wanted to be extra and come inside, look at her ID, and ask her about her medication and stuff when she was clearly in her own house, alone. He put himself in that situation. There was no need for him to go inside her house. He was being aggressive and antagonistic towards her. If it's late at night and I'm a woman staying by myself and I hear some noises outside my house, yes, you're going to be a little on edge. Yes, you're going to be a little erratic because you're going to be scared. And now you have this large, over aggressive police officer in your house asking you 50 million questions that's not necessary. Yes. Yes. Let's finish what he got to say right quick.
really try to make a difference. Guys, I'm just sorry on behalf of all law enforcement. Just seeing that video, I actually went back and watched it this morning after I left that call, just to kind of get it refreshed in my mind, because that's something that should never be left alone. You know, that's something that should definitely be brought up for years to come, because that was senseless and it was a tragedy that should have never happened. Guys, I'm sorry, and the only thing that I can tell y'all is that we are not all the same out here wearing these uniforms and these.
Which is true. But let me go back to this. And this is what concerns me when it comes to this situation, is this video right here.
Doing their job. We're going to give our police their power back, and we're going to give them immunity from prosecution. So they're not prosecuted for doing their job.
Now, again, we can all agree to disagree. But I think the one thing that we should be able to come together on, that woman shouldn't have lost her life. If you want to claim a boiling pile of water was a weapon, and if you want to claim that she was trying to throw it at him, then I will argue you can go to TikTok, you can go to WorldStar, you can go to multiple other videos and platforms to where you see officers in real danger when it comes to firearms, when it comes to handheld weapons, and subdue the person with not a pew-pew, but with a taser, by tackling them down or talking them down. Not fire first and discourage aid, which is what happened. But that's all I got for now. I got some stuff to do. I just wanted to make this update. I'm going to do a video on Kamala Harris getting ready to run, or teasing that she's going to run again for election. Spoiler alert, I'm not a fan of it. I don't want her to run again. I think it's going to be a complete waste of time. And I didn't vote for Kamala. I didn't vote for Trump, but I did vote. And because I saw the writing on the walls. So if you want to hear my further opinions about that, like, comment, and subscribe. That video is coming up next. Thank you guys for watching. Tommy, thank you for the interactions. Like I said, man, me and you just got to agree to disagree. And I hope you guys like, comment, and subscribe. And have a good night.